I'm 100, and I've eaten these 7 foods most of my life. I say that not to brag, child, but because living through a century gives you a way of seeing what actually stands the test of time. I watched World War II on the radio, saw men walk on the moon on a little black and white set, and now I carry a tiny window to the world in my pocket. Folks will sell you a dozen new fixes every season. Powders, pills, fads that promise to turn back the clock. But most of the time, what keeps you going is the plain, honest food your grandmother knew, and the life you choose to live around it. If you like old-fashioned common sense, stick with me here and, well, consider subscribing. There's more where this came from. Coffee. Morning hasn't truly started in my house until there's been a black cup to wake the bones. I remember my mama pouring coffee so strong, you could stand a spoon up in it. The smell used to roll down the hall and wake me before the rooster. For me, that cup is clarity in a mug. Coffee lifts the fog, keeps the mind alert, and carries little helpers. Antioxidants is the fancy word. But I think of them as the coffee's tidy crew, sweeping up the day's messes. I drink it black. I like the taste of it plain, the way it says, "Here's your day." 1 small cup in the morning, no fuss. That's how I do it. People will tell you coffee will do you wrong. For me, it's been a faithful friend. Berries. My grandmother called them God's candy, and she wasn't wrong. We would pick wild blueberries and blackberries behind the barn, sticky-fingered and laughing until the sun went down. They taste like summer, and they bring color to the plate like nothing else. Those bright reds and blues are full of what folks nowadays call polyphenols. But think of that color like a little suit of armor against inflammation. A handful in the morning, or scattered over whatever you're eating, is enough. They're small, they're sweet, and they remind you of simpler days. Number 2 will surprise you. It's the taste of childhood doing you good. Fatty fish. Now here some of the young folks might clutch their pearls. But sardines saved us more than once. My husband used to joke that his tin of sardines was better than a fortune, and that he'd eat the whole sea if I let him. We'd sit at the kitchen table with the radio on, and a tin between us, butter on the bread, and we'd call it supper, fit for kings. Fatty fish, mackerel, salmon, those oily little fellows, carry what helps keep your head clear and your thinking steady. Doctors say things like omega-3s. I say they help your brain keep its shine, like oil on hinges, so doors swing true. You don't need a grand feast, a can of sardines now and then, or a portion of salmon a couple of times a week, is how I keep mine in rotation. Whole eggs. Oh, eggs. My daddy swore by eggs more than he did by his own 2 feet. He said the yolk was where God put the good stuff, and for once I sided with him over the scientists on the radio. For years, folks scared people into throwing out yolks. But those golden centers hold vitamins and things that look after your sight and your memory. Choline and lutein. But you can think of them as the yolk's little toolbox. I fry mine in a spoon of bacon grease, sometimes because that's the way I've always liked them. Other times I'll poach or scramble. 2 eggs for breakfast or tucked into a salad now and then. To me, that's honest. Sustaining food. Grass-fed red meat. Now, don't roll your eyes. I'm not preaching a steak every night, but I will tell you meat put meat on my bones when I needed it. When I was a girl, you could see a man lift a sack of feed, and he'd be strong enough to carry the world. Red meat gave strength. Iron and B12 help with that, in simple terms. I call it sunlight turned into strength. The pasture grows the grass, the animal eats the grass, and that becomes the plate that keeps a body steady. For my part, I choose leaner cuts when I can, and I make it a portion that fits my hand, a sensible piece with a heap of greens. Some headlines will tell you to be afraid of red meat. I say be sensible, know your source, and eat real food, fermented foods. This one will sound strange to some, but think of your gut as a little garden. Fermented foods are the friendly neighbors who come over and tend the soil. My grandmother's sauerkraut, the pickles in summer, a cup of buttermilk when it was hot. Those were foods that were alive in a good way. They teach your digestion to be calm and orderly. Nowadays people talk about probiotics, but I just think of it as keeping the garden tidy so the plants can grow. I eat a forkful of sauerkraut now and then. I have pickles on a sandwich, and I keep cultured things around. They don't make miracles, but in my experience they make me feel balanced. Raw cacao. I keep this one small and a little secret. A spoonful of raw cacao in my morning cup, just a hint, is like a friendly nudge to my energy without making a production of it. People talk about mitochondria like they're tiny engines inside every cell, and cacao gives those engines a little spark. The younger crowd calls that PQQ, and other words I don't need to memorize. For me it's simply a small daily joy that seems to help my pep. I stir a bit into coffee, or melt a scrap in hot milk, and it's enough to feel sprightly without a fuss. Through every one of these foods runs the same thread: simplicity. I didn't grow up with a kitchen full of supplements or a pantry of labels promising the moon. We had what the land gave and what our hands could make, and we trusted our bodies to tell us what they liked. Does that mean these foods will make you live to 100? Child, I'm not selling guarantees. All I can tell you is what worked for me. Eating real food, staying useful, and keeping my wits about me has been my way. But listen close now. Eating is only part of the story. You can eat the right things and still wither if you don't feed the rest of yourself. The real engine that keeps you going is not the plate alone. It's spirit. Find something to wake up for. Hold tight to people who love you. Forgive when it's hard. Grudges are heavy and do not suit a body meant to dance. Laugh until your belly aches. Be thankful for small mercies and a good sunset. Those things, more than any headline, have kept my heart young. I don't throw stones at doctors. Many of them hold lives in their hands. But I do tell you to be wary of things sold more for profit than for people. Use wisdom, ask questions, and if you have special needs, talk to someone who knows your history. For the rest of us who just want to live well and plainly, start with a black cup, a handful of berries, a bit of fish, an egg or two, a modest piece of honest meat, some fermented vegetables, and a spoon of cacao now and then. Eat slowly, pray quietly, if that is your way, and make room at your table for friends. Now it's about time for my own cup. The sun is settling soft on the porch, and there's a little plate with 2 fried eggs waiting for me. If this warmed your heart, or reminded you of a recipe from your mama, share it with someone who needs a little common sense today. Go on now. Be kind to your body, and be kinder still to your soul. The Lord has been good to me, and I thank Him for every simple blessing.